Khleif.
Welcome to another edition of Lifetime Cash Flow through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Khleif, and I'm thrilled you're here. And we have a unique interview today. We've got Philip Boja here today, and we're going to talk about triple net assets, something we really haven't talked about on the show, something I like, have never actually invested in, but I believe in. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. Welcome, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So 8 years as a Deputy U.S. Marshal in New York City. We're going to have a beer and tell some stories sometime. And then 6 years Special Agent with Homeland Security. Yeah, we're definitely going to have talk about that at some point. Not today, but offline. Anyway, give us your background. Although I just stole some of it. Talk about where you came from and why bring us current.
Yeah. So I was in federal law enforcement for 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
About 11 years ago, my boss at the time gave me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he was an investor in small multifamily real estate, so he got me into investing for cash flow. So I did that for a few years, bought some small multifamily, traded up a little bit.
Where at? New York?
New Jersey.
New Jersey?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey.
Okay.
And then I came across Joel Owens on Bigger Pockets, and he helped me transition from residential to triple net lease investing. So then I started working for him full time.
Well, that was very quick. So you bought some plexes. You had an 8-unit building, and it says you also invested as a limited partner in some syndications as well.
Yep.
Were these multifamily syndications?
Multifamily. Yep.
Okay. And now you work with Joel Owens. I don't know him, but obviously you like him, or you wouldn't be working for him. So it says here he actually helped you 1031 some of your residential stuff into triple net.
Yeah, he did.
So why do you like triple net? First of all, describe what triple net is for those that don't know what that means.
Sure.
Start there.
So triple net is it's a lease structure where the tenant is responsible for the taxes, the maintenance, and the insurance.
Pretty much everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
All property level maintenance and everything, and the rental payments are net to the landlord.
Correct. I mean, the only thing paid after that is a mortgage.
If you have one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I actually met a billionaire that did it in triple net. This was a lifetime ago, but yeah, I remember I think he bought a lot of assets in one of the crises, like the savings and loan crisis or something like that. And so why do you like triple net?
So for me, at the time, I was trying to get out of my career in law enforcement to work in real estate full time. So owning small multifamily, it was difficult for me to scale, and the income was just too volatile. So I was looking for something that I could buy and just model out that cash flow for the lease term backed by an investment grade tenant. Sure.
Small multifamily, you're going to have some volatility because
Sure.
if you've only got a duplex or something and one unit's empty, you're 50% vacant. The world that I live in, in the 100+ units, you're not going to be as volatile because you can have quite a bit of vacancy and still be able to cover your nut and have cash flow.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you for your service as a New York Marshal. We're right at that point where that poor guy got killed recently. That was a big deal in the news.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Diller.
That's right. Yeah. That literally is happening right now. I don't know when this episode will air, but that's been real traumatic. So you like the stability factor around triple net leasing, and that was a real factor for you to end up leaving your job, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the income stability and the business to business relationship. I as I had I own some properties in some really bad neighborhoods. So
in Jersey.
So
we won't even talk about the politics and the crap you have to deal with up there over and above that. But I
mean, besides that,
right.
The dealing with tenants was very difficult with that demographic.
Yeah.
Right. So dealing with businesses it's just an asset class I enjoy.
Well, it's a hell of a lot easier.
Sure.
You're dealing with logical, educated, typically more financially secure people than in a C- D class multifamily. Sure. So you heard Joel on Bigger Pockets.
Right.
Cool. And tell me how you ended up going to work for him, because I think what I read here, it'd be helpful for other people to hear that.
Yeah. So I started as a client of his, obviously, and then after talking to him and seeing what he was doing and what he had going on, I knew I wanted to be involved with him and what he was doing. So I offered to work for him for free for about 4 months, 5 months, and I said, let me work for you, see if it works out, and then if it turns into a full-time thing, great. If not, that's okay too.
Were you still doing your law enforcement career?
I was. So I had a baby at the time, and they allowed us 12 weeks, even for the husband.
So you did it while the baby. Okay.
Yeah. So I dedicated all my time working for him during that time, and he offered me a full-time position. So
what did the boss think about you giving up your law enforcement career to go do this full-time?
Everybody told me I was crazy.
Now I don't mean your work boss. I mean your home boss.
Oh, she was very supportive.
Really?
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of fear associated with that?
I mean, maybe a little bit, but she had a lot of faith in me. And, you had said something a while ago on one of your podcasts about one of the biggest regrets you had was playing with your kids when they were young and feeling distracted. And that resonated with me because I felt the same way, but about my job. I thought that there was something else I should be doing. And I would think about that a lot when I was playing with them. And so that really helped me push through to make that change.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because I was going to slam you for leaving your kids in the first 4 months of their life. I was going to give you some shit about that, but you beat me to it. So yeah, that's a big deal for me because I have a lot of regret around that. They say I'm a great dad, but I still have a lot of regret. So you suffered through a little bit of my podcast previously, I heard.
Many years, daily basis.
Really?
Yep.
So then why not multifamily, for God's sakes, man? I'm just kidding.
No, I started in multifamily, right? I just, the issues that I had and the places where I can make the numbers work were not places I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
no, I get it, buddy. I was just dogging you. I was just giving you shit. So the people at your law enforcement career, because that whole mindset is make it to 20, right? Make it to 20, get that incredible retirement, medical, all that stuff, which is great.
Yeah.
But
not for me. I was after something a little bit more, and I wanted to spend my time doing something that I really like to do. Yeah.
That's the name of the game, man. When you love what you do, work is play, right? You never work another day in your life.
Right.
And you're loving what you're doing. So talk about some of the nuances around triple net. Yeah, I asked you before we started recording where you're buying, if you have a geographical footprint. You said basically the whole United States, but you like to stay south. 80 million baby boomers, getting old and getting cold, right?
Yep.
So what are some other parameters that you guys look for when you're looking for a potential triple net asset? Yeah.
So we have two areas of focus. We have a value add, and then we have a core plus.
Okay.
So on the value add.
By the way, hold on. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So it's the exact same thing in multifamily, guys. Okay. So value add in multifamily, obviously, is you buy an asset, you fix it up, you improve the rents, decrease expenses, and you exponentially improve the value. Core plus is something that's very stable where you're just banking on rent appreciation. Okay. And it's the same in multifamily. I just wanted to clarify that for those that didn't know what that meant. So value add, talk about value add and triple net.
Yeah. So value add, we target vacant or soon to be vacant retail properties.
So you got a corner and you got a Walgreens is going out or a CVS is going out. But right? Something like that.
Something like that. Could be something like that.
Right.
And what we do is we buy it, but the whole focus on both those strategies is the underlying real estate. So it all comes down to underlying real estate first, always.
What do you mean by that?
Traffic counts, 5 mile demographics, sight lines, access to the property, layout of the parcel. It all has to be desirable to credit-worthy tenants. That's really what we're targeting.
Okay.
Which is why we stay in the Warm Belt states, because that's really where the biggest rings of growth are. We'll look at Cold Belt states, but those pockets of growth tend to be much smaller. So we'll look at, for value add, that's what we'll look at. And then So
you have a whole checklist of items like you just rattled off.
Exactly.
You want to see certain traffic counts in front of that asset. You want to see that it's visible from the road. You're talking sight lines. Access. If there's a median in the middle and people can't turn into it, that's an issue.
Exactly.
Things like that. Do you take a look at morning and evening traffic component of a location? Okay.
Yeah. So if we want to put a coffee user, for example, we want to be on the morning side.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And are there sizing parameters that you like to see?
It just depends. I mean, sometimes, if there's an older Walgreens, for example,
Right.
it's 15,000 square feet. Sometimes that can be difficult to backfill, right? So
Interesting.
we'll have to buy that for the dirt value. So if we can backfill the actual building, great. That's just more upside to us. But
Right.
if not, we can scrape it, ground lease it, or do a build to suit, et cetera.
Okay. Do you look at income demographics when you're looking at an
Yeah,
asset?
yeah, absolutely. So we look at all those 5-mile demographics.
Okay.
So we want to be above, traffic counts really want to be minimum 25,000
Per day.
per day.
Now, one of the things that I tell my students is I want to see a bunch of national retailers. I don't want to see Bob's Burgers and sushi, or pawn shop, liquor store, strip club, at the main intersection. I want to see, national retailers. You feel the same way, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. And they a lot of these national retailers put a lot of time and effort and money
into their demographics.
That's right. So they're there for a reason.
That's right. Well, that's the reason, guys, because, like a Publix or a Kroger or, these H-E-M, these big retailers, they spend a lot of money checking out a demographic before they spend millions of dollars throwing a store up, big box. So that's a big deal. So what markets are you in now?
We're really all over the place.
Oh, yeah?
We're Indiana. We're under contract on an asset in Texas. We're in Ohio.
I'm in all three of those as well.
Yeah.
Good states.
Yeah. So it's just really, we're very opportunistic.
In fact, I was in Ohio last week, Georgia the week before. I'm taking over a bunch of properties. And, yeah. So my asset manager's in Texas today.
Houston, right? The Houston asset.
I have a Houston asset. I have several in Dallas, San Antonio, several there. So yeah, no, we like Texas a lot. So walk me through the decision to quit a stabilized, fairly long-term role in the government and let all that retirement income go to go do this. Walk me through that decision process.
Yeah. Once I reached a point where my monthly cash flow could sustain my lifestyle.
Yeah.
It was still nerve-wracking, but it was just listening to these podcasts, this one and ones like this. When you hear people every single day
Do it.
Yeah. Right. And enjoy what they're doing. It hit a point where I couldn't keep going. I had to stop.
And you have 2 kids. You got one on the way, yes?
I have 2 kids, one on the way, doing about a month and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got your hands full.
Yep.
And how did that play into this decision?
I did it for them,
Really?
actually, because it gave me more time to be with them.
Yeah.
My wife, my 2 kids.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what you had said.
Are you still up in New Jersey or New
I
York?
still live in New Jersey. I'm trying to get my wife to move to Florida.
Are you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Good luck with that. Is she Italian or what's
She's Polish.
Polish? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
she's
All right. Well, it's a shame you didn't bring her with. I would have given her the hardcore press. I could be a poster child for the Florida Chamber of Commerce. I love it here so freaking much. Yeah. So like DeSantis just passed that squatter bill. You guys got this squatter freaking debacle. By the way, remind me, I want to do a video on that squatter thing, maybe before you leave today. It's just mind-numbing. They arrested some woman for changing the locks on her own freaking house. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It's amazing that's controversial.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
crazy.
what don't get me started. Oh my God, you can't fix some of the stupidity going on in this country right now. So you're in those multiple states. Do you like corners? Do you do even? Does it have to be a corner?
It doesn't have to be a corner. Okay. No. It's really it's the basis we're getting into the property. So that's our downside protection is. We make hundreds of offers just to go under contract.
Oh, do you really?
Oh, yeah.
So you throw a lot of offers out there.
Ton of offers.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have to be into it at a low enough basis because we have this 90-day review period anytime we buy a vacant property. So we decide, we take feedback from potential tenants on the rent per square foot. Do they think it's too high? Do they not like it? X, Y, and Z, whatever the reasons. Right. So we either want to continue to try and lease it or sell it to an end user. Because sometimes we do that.
So sometimes you just flip them.
Sometimes we just flip them.
Okay.
And it all comes down to our basis, right?
Okay.
Our purchase price.
What you pay for it. Yeah. Well, that's interesting that you make a ton of offers. Does that irritate brokers, or they okay
Sometimes
with it?
yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
We just tell them, what we're doing, why we're doing it.
This is how come it works at this number, right? And in your business, it's pretty much just the spread.
Right.
Because, whatever your debt costs and whatever you're into it for, the margins aren't as big potentially as in multifamily, like a multifamily value add. But it could be on a value add where you've got an empty building for sure. But
we don't take on any debt for core or the value add.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because the value.
So you do it all with in syndications with
cash.
So people are raising the money cash.
Correct.
So it's all money raised. Yeah, that's a safe way to do it. Mm-hmm. Obviously there's a potential risk, and your returns are better when you're leveraging debt, but that's a very conservative way to do it.
Yeah.
Do you back in debt after you've purchased?
If it makes sense to. If we can pull out a large chunk of capital afterwards, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll consider that. But the real opportunity in triple net properties with investment grade tenants is really in the $5 million plus range, because that's where cap rates have expanded the most, because most buyers, 3/4 of the buyers over $5 million are going to be taking on debt. So those cap rates have to move if they want to sell these properties. So that's where we see an opportunity to capture a larger yield by just coming in cash.
Interesting. So you do you syndicate core plus where you've got a significant tenant. What do you look for in a tenant?
Well, really, we look at the most important thing for us is the location and underlying dirt, because we will purchase a really great piece of real estate with a not so great tenant if they're paying significantly below market rent, because that way there's two ways we win there. If we purchase the property at a high cap rate and they stay, we just keep capturing that higher yield. Mm-hmm. If they decide to leave, we can backfill that space at a higher rent per square foot and still be profitable after TI costs and leasing commissions and an attorney
Tenant
fees.
improvements is TI, guys. A lot of times you'll get a new tenant and the landlord makes improvements. It all gets factored into what the rent costs, but that's very common in commercial is you'll have tenant improvements that the landlord covers.
That was also on the core plus side.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll buy a tenant that doesn't have that great of credit if it's a great location and the markets are significant.
But back to my question, what do you look at in the tenant?
If we want to underwrite the credit of the tenant, we're going to look at how many locations do they have, or credit rating, are they publicly traded, and then who's guaranteeing the lease, right? So we're under contract on a medical property where it's investment grade, but sometimes we'll look at ones where it's extremely high net worth doctor who's backing the lease. So
I see. Okay, so you'll do single tenant medical as well then?
Yeah,
okay. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, we like that a lot.
Urgent care, things like that. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's single tenant as well. And a lot of doctors want to own the buildings. I went to a GI doctor and he was bragging that he owned the building where they violated me. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, a lot of doctors like that. So yeah, I could see that being real viable. And of course, they've got high net worth and liquidity and everything else. So, I've got a lot of aspiring multifamily investors that listen to this show, like you when you first got started years ago. Talk to them. Talk about getting started. Talk about, taking that first step. Make some suggestions, just some thoughts that from your perspective.
Yeah. I would say getting started, doing your first deal is really the catalyst for getting that,
doesn't matter how big it is either.
It doesn't matter how big it is. It's just any way you can get started, I would get started. Yeah. There's a lot of great things you can do. FHA loans on a 2-family, but it's really getting that first deal under your belt and getting around people who are doing what you want to do.
That's a critical piece.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
Well, I
go to meetups or real estate investor club meetings or just reach out to people.
Yeah, I'd reach out to people. But honestly, podcasts for me, because I was in my car for so long. Right. Sometimes we did surveillance for 10 hours. I would listen to 10 hours of podcasts.
Wow.
And it was almost like, I'm just listening to people who are doing what I wanted to do.
Right. Yeah, me too. I've got a 3-hour drive to Orlando tomorrow, and I'll be listening to podcasts the whole way. Joe Rogan, though, I listen to the political stuff just to light me up and keep me engaged. Lights my freaking fire, let me tell you. So just get started is your advice.
I would say get started.
Consume as much information as you can.
Yep.
Get around people that are doing it. I brag about my warrior group. They now own upwards of 200,000 units that we know of, and most of those deals are done between warriors because it really is a team sport. And like you teamed up with a guy that's an expert in it, and very smart, by the way, to offer to work for him for free. I get that offer all the time too, but I wanted you to share that because it's really smart. There are some people that can use the help and will take you up on it, and it got you in the door. So that was a really smart move. And so get started. How did you push through any fear? I know you don't have any fear. You're a freaking cop, but how'd you push through it? Just if you did, how did you push through it?
Wanting to pursue what I really wanted to do was enough of a burning desire to make that leap. Honestly,
that was it. Because I'll tell you, people in law enforcement and quasi-governmental jobs like that, it's a pretty heavy employee mindset. Stick it out for the 20 years, then get your retirement, and then go fishing into the sunset. And that's tough. It's tough to walk away from that. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
So you really knew you had to do something else.
I had to do something else.
And all your coworkers and bosses were like, "Are you out of your freaking mind?"
I stopped bringing it up. I didn't talk to them about it anymore. I only talked to people who
had the same mindset
and who were doing what I wanted to do. Right. That's the only people you should take advice from.
Well, that is a really important piece because you're going to get a lot of naysayers in your life, and you've got to, when you've got that dream, it's a fragile thread, and if you share it with the wrong person, they can break that thread. And so it's critical that you're around people that aren't afraid of what you've got going on, that don't have their own limiting beliefs around being a success. And I get hate every single fucking day from people about, oh, you're gouging tenants and you're doing this and I don't have the money to do anything and blah, blah, blah. They've got all these stories they tell themselves, and you get around people like that. And sometimes it's family. Love your family, but choose your freaking peers who you allow to motivate, influence you, right? Absolutely. And so you actually had to shut it down for some of these guys. I can absolutely see that. That makes sense.
Yeah, and the same people that were telling me not to buy the two-family, I'm an idiot, don't do that, are the same people saying, man, that was really smart that you did that years later.
Oh, yeah, So. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works. And it's their own fear. Like I said, their own fear, their limiting beliefs. They don't feel like they're smart enough. For me, it wasn't analytical enough. I didn't, everybody's got these things. There's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS, is because 99% of them are BS, but people believe them. But you can't allow that, someone else's fear to influence you. That's where it gets dangerous.
Yeah. And I had a hard time with that for a while. I had a hard time with listening to people and, are they right? Should I stay? I would waffle on it a little bit. So all of your training has been through podcasts or any other things that you did to educate yourself? I mean, podcasts and connecting with Joel. I mean, I've been talking.
So you just connected. It was connection.
I would follow up with him, talk to him, because I was selling off some residential properties and buying that lease. He would start sharing what he was looking at and how he was doing it and how he would analyze something. And it just set this fire for me, and I knew that he was the one, I think he's for you. Yeah. He's the best one in this asset class.
Yeah. That's so important to get around people that, if you're playing tennis, do you want to play somebody better than you or worse than you, right? You want to be around people. I started a mastermind. It's some of the top syndicators on the planet. There was probably about 30-40 billion in assets in it. I've kind of slowed it down. I've been too busy, but I wanted to be around people that thought what I thought was hard was easy. Right. And there's a clue in that, guys. Okay, get around people that are doing what you want to do, and however you can make that happen. And a rising tide lifts all ships. Just by being around them through osmosis, you'll get better. Period. Right. You'll learn some of the nomenclature, some of the little, verbiage that you wouldn't know if you weren't around these people. So it's super, super important. Do you think there's a particular type of person that does better in this real estate game than another? Do you, would you consider yourself more outgoing or more analytical? Let me ask that question.
That's a good question. I think I'm more analytical.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. I think I'm more analytical.
All right.
I think there's a spot for both those people, right?
Right.
I think you need both. I
right.
mean, Joel.
No, I promise you need both.
Yeah. And Joel is super analytical.
Right.
I mean, he speed reads through the lease and can tell you everything you need to know about this lease. So, I'm probably a little more forward facing, talking to investors
Right.
and brokers. So in that, for the company, Joel's definitely
the analytical
brain.
person. Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, my partners are super analytical. They've written the software. My people on my CRE equity capital team, CRE capital team, which is why we've only bought two assets in the last year and a half, because we've been so freaking picky and conservative. So as you were, you started in the multifamily, small multifamily. Talk about any epiphanies you had. Talk about any aha moments. You're like, okay, I get it now. Okay, talk about that.
Well, one of them was, so I had multiple shootings at this building, fires, some drug
At
addicts.
a single tenant building, or no, this was a multifamily.
Multifamily. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So this, and I didn't like going to the property. I felt unsafe going to the property. I didn't want to be there. And once, I forgot where I heard it, but you want to own property where people want to be, right? And that was a light bulb moment, because nobody wanted to be here. The tenants didn't want to be there. They had to be there. That was huge for me.
That was good.
Location is really, I overlooked that completely and was just focused on these super high cap rates.
Yeah, they say there's three things that real estate hinges on, and those three are all the same word, location, right?
Yep.
So what's your favorite part of what you're doing now? And what's your least favorite? Let's start with the least favorite.
My least favorite thing. I want.
It better be travel away from your kids.
We don't travel as much.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
So we have engineers that go out and do property inspection reports for us and everything. But that's actually one of the great things, is that I'm actually around my kids a lot.
Nice.
But I'm looking to grow faster and faster the company, right? For Joel, right? So I want to move faster and faster, but sometimes I just need to slow down, and you know what I mean?
You can grow too fast. That's the problem
Right.
with my past partner I'm dealing with right now. Grew too fast. And so you can absolutely grow too fast.
Right. So we're doing that.
You can implode. I've got a warrior I had to have a sit down with about a month ago. He's got all these assets under contract. He reassured me he's okay, but you can absolutely implode by going too fast.
Yeah. So Joel slows me down a little bit.
Does he? Good.
And
good. It's good to have that balance.
Methodical.
It's good to have that give and take and that push pull in a partnership, in a relationship.
Yeah. Well, I work for Joel.
Well, I understand.
Yeah.
Fair
Okay.
enough. Fair enough. I'm sure he considers you a partner, whether you work for him or not. Yeah. But yes, if he's a good leader, he does. Yeah. I'm sure he is.
Yes.
So that's the challenging. What part do you love the most about what you're doing?
There's so many things, honestly.
Name a few.
I would say the relationships that I get to build. The people I get to meet. Whether it's brokers, investors, just talking to people, hearing their stories, how they did things, how they created wealth. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
So
I know you work, in this situation. You're not technically a partner yet, but talk about the team that's made up in this company. Talk about what are the pieces of that team.
Sure. So we run pretty lean.
Okay.
So there's Joel.
Okay.
And then I do acquisitions for Joel and help run the syndication, talking to the partners. And then he has a marketing guy, Johnny. So he's actually
marketing, like social media and stuff.
Yeah, social
like that?
media,
Gotcha.
website, a lot of leads coming in. But he's also getting into the brokerage side of things. So I think Joel's actually gonna start bringing him in for acquisitions and different stuff on the equity side.
And that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
How about on the accounting? How do you handle the accounting?
We have our CPA.
Just a CPA that does that. Got it. I mean, you've only been doing this a year now?
Full time. Yeah.
Full time. Yeah.
About a year.
Talk about a war story in the triple net side of things, where you got your ass handed to you, or a setback, where you missed something, or something went wrong, or something. Anything come to mind?
So thankfully, we haven't had any huge seminars,
right?
But I would say, it's funny because it's probably,
now I know you listen to my podcast.
Yeah, yeah. I would say honestly, this is actually kind of a win and a loss, but we bought a property, former QSR.
What's that?
Quick service restaurant.
Oh,
so
gotcha,
any fast food.
Okay.
It's vacant.
QSR. I've never heard that before. So former Burger King, McDonald's, whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so we were planning to get it on the market and leased up. We had a projected rent per square foot, but we knew that if we didn't get the rent per square foot that we wanted, that it was going to be worth a certain amount so that we could flip it and get out of it profitably.
Got it.
But we really thought, you
thought you'd lease it.
we thought we'd release it, and we did not.
Okay.
The market turned a little bit. It was challenging.
What market was it?
In Louisiana.
Okay. Where in Louisiana?
Smaller market. So this one was in Winsboro.
Okay. What's that near?
So it's
Please
near,
don't say Shreveport.
No, Monroe.
Okay. I hear about my story.
I
in
heard
Shreveport?
about that.
Oh, good God!
There's something
I don't
about
even want to
Louisiana.
fly over Shreveport airspace. All right, continue. Sorry, I interrupted.
No. And so we actually were trying to get it leased up. We were in negotiations for a while. Tenants wanted too much. So we ended up selling it to another national QSR for more than we had originally anticipated. So it wasn't the home run that we wanted, right? You know, it was in a smaller market than we would buy now.
Okay.
But it was a win because you
were able to sell it.
We analyzed the downside risk, properly. So
good.
that was
that's not a huge war story, but that's a lesson. Okay.
Yeah.
I like to ask this question a lot. You know, knowing what you know now. I mean, it's not like you're long a tooth and old and gray, but would you done anything differently in this real estate career that you're in, this path that you're on right now? If you could go tell 18-year-old self something, what might you do differently, if anything?
I would go into real estate as quickly as I could, honestly.
Yeah.
Probably on the leasing side.
Leasing.
Because that's where you
can learn a lot.
You can learn a lot, and you develop those tenant relationships. So there's other operators out there that started in leasing. Aaron Zucker is one of them, and he started in leasing, and he has his own firm now. And you could see the marriage of it was perfect. Killing it because so if I could go back and do it, that's exactly what I would have done. I wasted so much time in law enforcement because I wasn't learning anything that I really wanted to do long term.
And you, when you're comfortable, it's kind of hard to make that move. And
exactly.
Those of you listening that are comfortable, quote unquote, just recognize that nothing grows in the freaking comfort zone. Okay, you got to get outside of comfort to create that magnificent life of your dreams. You got to get just a little bit uncomfortable. Is there I know you got acclimated to Rich Dad Poor Dad. The whole freaking world got that one. Which is pivotal. In fact, all of his books are fantastic, in my opinion. But are there any other books that you've enjoyed in this journey of yours that have helped you, get more knowledgeable?
Yeah, so I recently read a book called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday.
Book. Yeah, great book.
Really great book.
I saw you looking at my library downstairs.
I did.
I got a couple of books down there, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you this. Everybody has a definition of success. What's your definition of success?
Being excited about what you're doing every day.
Oh, that's a great answer.
Really not dreading going to work, not, tomorrow's Monday. When every day is the same, to me, that is the pinnacle of success.
Oh, I love that, man. What a great answer. Is there a dark time in your journey, even before real estate, that you'd be willing to share if you feel like it might add some value?
Yeah, I mean, I breezed over the decision to leave the government and go into real estate full time, but that was very, very difficult when I put in my resignation. Just knowing that guaranteed income stream from the government, with a pension, was gone, and there was really no going back. And there was, my wife, like I said, was very supportive of that, but
which is amazing, honestly, because you've got kids. I could just totally see the fear in that. I mean, the fact that she supported you, she's a freaking keeper.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was very, very difficult. Just knowing I had
getting
a family,
through it and the agonizing about it,
the whole thing. Yeah,
I can imagine. And then all the crap you're getting from your your Confederates there, your coworkers and boss and all that stuff. Yeah. So, is there anything that you do to deal with any self-talk, like when you were dealing with that? Anything come to mind when I ask that question?
Talking to people who were encouraging me because they had invested in real estate and done things. Like, for example, I have a close family friend. He's a mortgage broker named Richie. He had invested in real estate a long time ago. And he had done very well. He owns a shopping center now. Wow. And he was one of the only people telling me that I should buy this two-family. You should do it. Don't listen to him. He doesn't own this. He doesn't own that. and that was very, very helpful
So
for me.
getting around the right people.
Getting around the right
people that weren't fearful, people that want more out of life, people that are
key.
motivated. Yeah, I've got my warrior event coming up the end of April. We get a few hundred warriors together because I discovered this like 4 years ago, that our most successful warriors were the ones that were the most connected in the warrior community. And so we started doing things to help facilitate those connections, because you got to get around people that want more out of life. And so we let people know if they live in the same state. We have breakout sessions with like speed dating, and then these warrior only events, which are pivotal. They're like literally rocket ships for my students. Let me ask you this. You've got kids, you've got a wife. Was there anything, what if anything, did you have to cut out of your life to push forward in real estate? Did you have to make any sacrifices? And how'd you deal with that, if any?
Really, the only thing I had to sacrifice was that steady income.
Yeah.
I was so excited to get started in it that it helped me push through that.
Okay.
Okay. But that was the big thing, was just the, pension and a relatively high income, right? I mean,
right. Oh, sure.
So
you're making good money.
Yeah. Overpaid, in my opinion. But yeah.
Are you? Okay. Well, that's honest.
Government,
that's honest.
the government's.
So what is your ultimate goal? You're working for someone else now. Is the ultimate goal to ultimately do this yourself, or what are your thoughts on that question?
My ultimate goal is to stay with this company and help grow it. It's really the satisfaction I get is the progress. I really like building on our portfolio and progressing, and Joel's actually building out his own software from the ground up. So it's going to be investor portal, all of our data. I mean, it's a huge undertaking.
Wow.
But
God, they have investor portals you can buy off the shelf that are kick-ass.
Right. But
that's a lot of work.
He's building it for his own thing with all sorts of plugins, and it's going to be it's
cool.
huge. So.
Well, happiness comes from progress and growth.
Right.
I tell the story about getting these big things in my life, and you're great for a month or two, and then it's like, what's next? And so, you've got to have that continual growth and progress. And one of the things I teach at my boot camp, and I've got one coming up this weekend actually, is I do a weekly planning process, and part of that process is to celebrate anything you got done. To pat yourself on the back, because you're going to have setbacks, you're going to have delays, but if you're progressing, you're happy. And happiness comes from progress and growth. It never comes from the goals. So, well, listen, brother, I really appreciate you flying down here to sit in that couch, and thank you for suffering through years of my podcast. I appreciate that as well. It was a pleasure to meet you, and you've definitely added some value today, because this is not a topic that we've really talked about on the show, and I'm trying to bring in other things, different asset classes and things, just to keep it interesting. And this is an asset class I like. I like it a lot, actually. I mean, if it was between this and self-storage and maybe mobile home parks, these are the three I think I like the most, other than multifamily. So you're in the right place. Well, listen, brother, thanks. It was a pleasure to meet you, man.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are frankly frustrated. They're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. And maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, incredible cash flow, and they think, well, it's just scary. Buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. But see, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship Program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years, and they own upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale. So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships, really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship Program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345, or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word CRUSH to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.